My newborn essential onesies is to have ones with reverse zippers. Your baby's gonna poop a lot. These things do wonders. They literally do pacify. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to do my newborn essentials for you guys. Those of you that are expecting moms or pregnant and you're building your newborn registry, your baby registry, and you wanna know what you need, this video will be for you. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. I gave birth to my baby boy, Ezra, about 3 months ago, so he's no longer in the newborn phase, but the newborn days are still very much ingrained into my head. A lot of people tell you need this and that, and honestly, the basics that you need are a place for them to sleep, diapers, wipes, and a food source. So if you're breastfeeding, that's you. But there are a few other things that are important and helpful, I felt, for building the newborn routine, which then goes into when they get older, and also a few things to make it easier for you when you're dealing with this newborn. Also, having a newborn for the first few weeks is going to be different than having them for the first 2 months. So sometimes things that will be important in the first few weeks may not be as important as they get older, but for the first few weeks you're really in survival mode, so I would prefer to have everything I need on hand just in case. Another disclaimer is that every baby is different, so some babies might like certain items and some babies might not. And that's why I really recommend getting the free either Amazon or Target or Walmart or Buy by Baby baby boxes, because they give you a lot of samples and then you can test things out when you have your baby to see, for example, what kind of bottle they like, what kind of diaper they like, and what kind of pacifier they like. Babies are picky and you don't want to buy a ton of one thing and then find out they don't like it. Also, I would really recommend getting things used, either from friends if you want to borrow clothes, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. There's a bunch of online stores where you can buy things used, because a lot of these things you only use for the first few months, or like I said, you don't even know if your baby will like the items, so sometimes it's better to get them used. That way you didn't spend a lot of money and you didn't waste buying something that you're not going to use. So let's get right into the video. I categorize them into different categories. That way it's a little more organized. So the first category is clothes. Obviously your baby needs clothes. Depending on when your baby is born, you might need warmer clothes or colder clothes. For newborns that are about up until a month old, they usually suggest dressing them in a layer more than what you would wear. So even in the summertime, if it's really hot, you still want to dress them in a layer. And if it's in the winter time, you're going to have to dress them in multiple layers. And what I found is that newborns, especially for the first month or so, maybe the first few weeks, they do not like being changed, either if it's their diaper or their clothes. So you want something that is very easy to take on and off, because they're going to be wiggling around, they're going to be crying, they're going to be thrashing, and you're going to be struggling to put their hand through this long sleeve or trying to do buttons. Also, if you're breastfeeding, they really recommend doing skin to skin for the first few weeks. So you're going to end up taking those clothes off anyway. So what I found was the easiest thing is just to have him naked in a diaper. And we did have him in October when it was still really hot here in California, so it was fine. But if I needed him to be a little warmer, I really like these Gerber baby kimono tops is what I call them. They have like 2 simple buttons and it sort of wraps. It's really easy to put on and off them. It's not a onesie. The thing about onesies is that you have to put it over their head, which is a feat in itself, and you have to button them. So I really felt this was easiest, especially if you're changing their diaper so many times. Just having their diaper uninhibited is really the easiest. The second easy thing for onesies is to have ones with reverse zippers. So these are just the Carter Simple Joy newborn onesies, but as you can see on the bottom here, it has 2 zippers because it zips up from the bottom. And what that means is that it's easy for diaper changes. Again, once you put this thing on, it's going to be really hard to take it off. But the reason why I didn't even like this in the beginning is because you still have to take their feet out in order to change their diaper. So that's why I felt like it was easier just to have them naked on the bottom. But these are good when they get a little older and they're not as fussy. You just have to take their feet out, and then you don't have to take their arms out when you change their diaper. Another one that was recommended to me are these Magnetic Me ones. So they're magnets. There's no zipper, no buttons. Also really easy. I mean, you still have to put it on them, but you just snap the magnets. And it's pretty easy and simple. Lastly, for pajamas, these sleepers were pretty useful because the bottom is just this elastic band, which you basically lift up and then you can easily change your diaper at night. Again, you do have to put this over their head, so it's a little more difficult than like the onesies that you just zip up, but now that he's a little older, and I think when he was probably like 2 months old, this was a little easier to use because he wasn't as wiggly. But in the newborn stages, because it was warm, he honestly slept either naked or just with that kimono top on, because we were changing his diaper so many times throughout the night. It just was not worth it to unbutton and button. Okay, the next category are diapers. So your baby's gonna poop a lot. When they're a newborn, I wanna say they poop like 8 to 10 times. You go through 8 to 10 diapers a day. And now that he's more regulated, I really only change his diaper every feeding, so about 6 times a day. But they go through a lot of diapers, and because you don't know how big your baby will be, I recommend getting at least 1 box of newborn diapers. Pampers or Huggies brands are pretty popular. You can also get samples of them from the baby boxes, although usually they're size 1. So if you can, try to find a newborn sample size. Also, the hospital, they'll provide you with a bunch of diapers and they'll give you a bunch when you leave. So you might just end up using those. But again, you don't know how big your baby will be, so don't invest in a ton of newborn diapers because they might grow out of them easily. As for me, I had a 5-pound baby, so he was in newborn diapers for a while. He actually just upgraded this past month, so you don't know, and that's why you should at least have 1 on hand just in case. For wipes, we like the water wipes. You can get this from Target or Amazon. They are juicy and wet and really good. They're pretty inexpensive as well. Also, if you get the free baby boxes, they'll give you free sample wipes, and the hospital will also give you wipes. So if you don't have any on hand, you should get some for free. Next is some sort of diaper changing pad or area. Some people, they just get like a pad on top of a dresser. For me, and I'll show you later, I have a pack and play that comes with an insert. Some people just change their baby on their bed. Whatever works for you, but you want to have some sort of pad to set them on just in case there's accidents, which there will be. Especially if you have a boy, they're gonna pee and it's gonna go everywhere. So make sure you have a designated area to change their diaper. I recommend getting these blue snail changing pads to put on top because, at least for me, I can wipe down the surface of it, but I'd rather just have something safe in case there's an accident. I can just throw this in the wash. These are really plush, quilted, basically changing liners. And they're easy to wash. You just lay this on top of the changing pad area, and then if it gets dirty, throw it in the wash. Now, a diaper pail may not seem like an essential, but it really depends on your preference. For me, I didn't want to have to put diapers in the actual trash can. I didn't want to have to walk out to the kitchen, which is where our trash can is. And even though baby diapers, newborn diapers, don't smell as much as when you start solids, they still have a smell to them, so they're not odorless, let's say. And I just felt like having a diaper pail right next to the diaper changing station in our room, which is where he sleeps, is just easier because I can quickly just stick it in there when I'm done. And again, you're going through so many diapers, you'll be surprised how quickly that thing fills up. I'd rather not have that in my trash can with other items. We use the Decor plus size and it's been fine so far. Again, newborn diapers aren't that smelly, so the odor shield is fine for me now. I can't say later when it gets more smelly, but it's a really easy system where you just pull the next diaper bag and then you cut it, tie it at the end, and then that way you basically build your own bags. You can also use trash bags that fit regular trash cans, which was another reason why I like this diaper pail. Okay, so for the category of sleep, your newborn will be doing a lot of sleeping. Hopefully not on you. I know a newborn sleep is very difficult. A lot of moms have to end up holding their baby or the baby won't go down in the bassinet. But for me, I felt like a pack and play was the best option for us. And I know a lot of people might think it's odd because you think of having a nice crib and a nice bassinet. How can a pack and play serve that purpose? But it's perfectly fine. The mattress is a thin foam pad, which is all you need. You need a firm, flat surface for your baby. And I like that it's basically, for me, mine was like a 4-in-1, but it has a bassinet insert on top where they sleep until they're about 15 pounds, and then you remove the bassinet insert and put it on the bottom, and then they sleep in that as their crib. So this thing will serve me for at least a few years until I get them the toddler bed. Another thing that a lot of parents struggle with is if they have a separate bassinet and a crib, when their baby outgrows the bassinet, they have to transition to the crib. This usually has some struggles. The baby's not used to sleeping in the crib. It's different. Usually it's a lot bigger, so they might be more not used to the bigger space. And at least for me, I'm hoping, I haven't transitioned him out of the bassinet insert yet, when I just put him in the lower part of the crib, he's basically in the same dimensions and the same pack and play, he's just lower. So hopefully it'll be a lot easier. Also, if you go visit your parents, or for him, the grandparents, if you go anywhere where he needs to take naps and sleep, you can easily put the pack and play, which is the point of it, it's supposed to be like a travel crib, in your car. That way he has a place to sleep when he visits someone, because otherwise they'd have to buy a crib or a pack and play. Also, I like the one that I got, which is from Graco, because it has a built-in changing pad, so I just can easily change him, and it has a little area to put the diaper essentials. It also came with its travel dome, which he can sleep in. We used to bring this instead of the pack and play to my parents' place. That way he can take naps in it. He's getting a little big for it now, but it's also a good lounger for them if they're in the living room or if they go outside. So it's really a good bang for your buck. I know some people might think it's odd or think that you're not giving your baby a good surface to sleep on, but he never had any issues. It's perfectly fine, and it served us well. Make sure you get specific pack and play crib sheets. Crib sheets make it a little nicer, especially because babies tend to spit up after they've eaten when they're sleeping, so you're going to be changing that out a lot. So it's good to get a set of crib sheets. So next is a swaddle. You've probably heard that babies need to be swaddled. I have two different types. One is the nested bean, so it has this bean sack that is supposed to mimic the mom's hand, and honestly, I don't know that it does that much of a difference, but I do like these because they are 1.5 TOG, which is how thick they are, and that's important, especially during the winter time when it gets cold, because it basically tells you how warm your baby will be. So I think this is equating to like wearing sleeping with a sheet and a comforter on top. So since my baby was small, this is actually meant for babies 7 pounds and up, and so he was born at 5 pounds. So in the beginning, this thing was really big on him, so we actually used the Swaddleme swaddles, which were also very good. And even now, I feel like the Swaddleme swaddles keep his arms down much more easily. With these, he is able to sort of move his arms up, and he likes to sleep like this, and so I feel like he always is able to move his arms up no matter how tightly we do the swaddle. But with the Swaddleme, he's not able to do that as easily. So again, the thing with swaddles is that different babies like different swaddles, so don't really invest in a ton of swaddles of one type. If anything, you should get a range. So I got the Swaddleme and the nested bean. I also had the Halo sleep sack, just in case he didn't like one of them. He wasn't that picky, at least from what we could tell. So we've been sticking with the nested bean, and it's been fine. I think we'll transition him to the nested bean sack afterwards. This is the Zen swaddle, and the reason why I like this one is because we can transition him out. So eventually babies either have to transition out of the swaddle, or when you're in between, you transition them by putting their arms out, and you're able to do that with this swaddle. So this swaddle will serve us until he's at least like 4 months, 5 months old. When he starts rolling, then we'll do the sleep sacks, but for now this is basically like a 2-in-1. Okay, next is a sound machine. So this is the Hatch Baby sound machine. Everyone has this. The reason that sound machines are good is, one, it helps them to feel like they're back in the womb. So you've probably heard that babies, when they're in the womb, is actually not quiet. There's a sound of your blood rushing, other organs, you talking, moving. So actually white noise helps them to feel like they're back in the womb and adjust to sleeping better. The other thing I like about sound machines is that it drowns out outside noise. So we're in a 1-bedroom, he sleeps in here, but when we're out there doing things, watching videos, talking, if you have people over and he's taking a nap, this helps to drown out so much of the sound. I don't have to worry about waking him up. Also, it signals to them when it's time to sleep. So, I mean, newborns in the beginning, they're gonna be confused, but by the time he's 3 months old now, he knows that when he hears this sound turn on, that it's time to take a nap or go to sleep. It also has a night light, so it helps for those late night feedings, because when you feed them at night, you don't want to turn the lights on because you want to keep it very business-like. You want to keep it dark, but you still need to be able to see. And so I like that this has different colored lights. So I looked up, and I think red is the best color for when they're sleeping. to not jar them awake, but they're still, you can see things around the house or the room. So we have 2 settings on here where when you tap it once or tap it twice, that way you know that the light will turn on, and the light is more for nighttime. Next is a baby monitor. This is the one from Wyze, W-Y-Z-E, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's actually not a specific baby monitor. It's ones that people use for their homes, but I didn't want to spend $100+ on a baby monitor that's labeled baby monitor when all I needed was just to be able to see him on my phone. So this is the type that it connects to your phone. It doesn't have a separate device, which it depends on what you prefer. I just don't mind having an app on my phone. Plug it in, you can see what's happening. So the reason why I didn't have this in the beginning was that I didn't think I needed it because I could hear if he's crying. But when you're starting to understand how your baby sleeps, it really helps to be able to see them. For example, when I was trying to teach him how to fall asleep independently, I didn't want to stay in the room to see if he was actually falling asleep. But with this, I could see that. Also now, I can see if when he wakes up and cries, is he really awake? How awake is he? Is he thrashing around? Is he barely awake? You can also kind of see their movements and their eyes. Like, are they slowly going back to sleep? This is just really helpful, and as someone who has a little bit of anxiety, I like knowing what my baby is doing. Is he awake? Is he breathing? I'll get into this also when I talk about the boppy, but there are times when I didn't practice safe sleep because I was desperate for him to go to sleep, and this helped me to be able to see, to make sure he was still breathing, like his chest was rising, and that he was okay, that nothing was covering him up or having any issues. So baby monitor, I didn't think I needed it, but definitely recommend getting, it doesn't have to be a baby monitor, but some sort of monitor to see what your baby is doing. Okay, next is a pacifier. So these are the MAM pacifiers, which I actually got for free from the Amazon and Target baby boxes. So I never had to buy a pacifier. And initially I didn't want to use a pacifier because I didn't want him to get addicted to it. You just hear so many horror stories. So I would say hold out for as long as you can, but I think I lasted like a day before I started using the pacifier. These things do wonders. They literally do pacify. So if your baby is crying, put it in their mouth, it soothes them. It's non-nutritive sucking, so even though they don't get any nutrients from it, like your breast, it mimics the feeling and the soothing feeling of nursing on a mom. And I think it even sends like endorphins or something to their brain, so they feel much happier. And if you have a crying baby and you've done everything and they won't stop, this really does help, especially in car rides, if you're at the doctor's office. Also, this helped us to learn to put himself to sleep. So I didn't want to create it as a crutch in the beginning for baby sleep, but it helped him because otherwise he'd just be crying constantly. But with this, we were able to put it in right before we put him down in the crib or in the bassinet, and he would already be calm sucking on it, and then eventually it would fall out and he would keep sleeping. So he didn't have issues where we had to go in and pop it back in. And now he's able to fall asleep without it, so I don't really use it that often except when I go in to soothe him if he wakes up in the middle of the night. So pacifier, just having them on hand, again, you don't know what kind your baby will like. He didn't seem to be very picky, or maybe he just happened to like this one. So get those free baby boxes, because in the registry it'll have samples for you, and that way you can see which ones your baby likes, because you don't want to get a ton and then have them not like it. Also, clips are good. This is just a simple clip. That way you can clip it onto them when that way it doesn't fall and they get dirty. Okay, so moving on to the food category, your baby needs to eat. Whether or not if you're breastfeeding or formula feeding, I'll have a separate breastfeeding video, but I would say just to have formula and bottles on hand, even if you plan on breastfeeding. And you can get these for free as well. I know I've been harping on this, but the Amazon and Target baby boxes have free bottles, and if you sign up for Enfamil or Similac or both, they send you free formula boxes. So these are examples of some of the formula they give you. These are good because they're infant and they're already ready made. You don't have to make powder. So you basically just break the seal, and they even come with nipples if you don't have a bottle to put on top and feed to them, or you can pour it into a bottle and feed them. So for me, I had issues with supply, and that's why within the second day, my pediatrician said you need to start supplementing with formula because he's not getting enough food. And so I'm glad we had these on hand because I didn't have to go out and buy formula. It literally was like in the middle of the night, and my husband was like, we need to give him formula because it's clearly he's still hungry after I nursed him. And so we were able to quickly pop one of these in and drink it. And after that, he slept so much more soundly because I think he was just really hungry, which is very sad. But my milk hadn't come in yet. And this is an example of the Wonder Box from Enfamil. So they give you samples of their formula, which is also good because you can test out which ones your baby likes. There's like special ones for sensitive stomachs or for babies that have gas, etc. And it's all free. I would say those Wonder Boxes lasted us about a month because eventually my milk, even though I have low supply still, my milk came in and I didn't have to supplement that many bottles, but they're also helpful. An example of one of the bottles, another MAM one that came in with the Amazon, and I think it also came in with the Target box. So I have 2 of them. Also, we actually use the Komotomo bottles. Someone gave this to us as a gift, and it's really easy to clean. There's only 3 parts to clean. There's the bottom part, the ring, and then the nipple. And it also has these anti-colic vents, which supposedly help with gas. And they're supposed to be good for breastfed babies. So Ezra didn't have any issues taking to this bottle, but again, you never know with your baby. They might prefer different nipple sizes, different bottles. Just make sure you have a newborn nipple. That way it's very slow flow. That way they don't choke and it mimics the breast. Okay, another thing you're gonna need are burp rags. So I just got these from Amazon. They're basically like a muslin burp rag. These are good because when you burp your baby, you are going to get spit up. In the beginning, babies don't spit up as much, maybe for the first, I didn't think I noticed much spit up maybe for the first few weeks. But after a while, he started spitting up a lot. And so I would always put this on my shoulder when I burped him because after he burps, there things called wet burps where their spit up comes out of their mouth. And so you want to make sure you're prepared and you have this on hand. I would have at least 3, that way when they get dirty you can just get another one because you don't want to have to do laundry every day. So once you know these kinds of things, usually you know you like it, so you can get at least 3 to begin with. Also having some sort of extra burp rag towel. Actually one of his aunts made this for us, but this is nice to put down when he plays because he also spits up when he plays since they're laying down like maybe 30 minutes to an hour after he's done eating. So this always helps because I don't want to have to wash my Lovevery Playgym every single time he spits up. So this is also very helpful. Moving to play or awake time. In the beginning, newborns don't have much of this, but eventually you will have to play with your baby or allow your baby to have wake time before they go back down for their nap. So I recommend having some sort of play mat. I use the Lovevery Playgym. It is pricey, but I got it used as an unopened box from eBay, so look for it online. And it basically serves you up until 12 months of age. So it'll serve him for a long time. They come with these cards that teach you how to play with your baby and how to use the things that come on the Playgym. In the beginning, newborns just kind of lay there and they don't do much. But I would say, you know, after about a month, he was starting to move a little bit more. In tummy time, he was starting to lift up his head. He hasn't really noticed much of the outer areas, maybe just the one that makes sound. But now that he's 3 months old and when he lays on his back, he actually does start swiping at the objects. And so having the black and white contrast cards are helpful. Really, babies just need a little bit of stimulation, not too much, to stay engaged. So you need something to help them. You don't want to put them in a swing or activity center and they can't really go in activity centers too early. But the reason that it's helpful is that it helps them with motor skills as when they're on the ground and they kind of understand their space and they're kicking and they're interacting with the world around them, and it really helps their mental development. So I would recommend something to put them down on, even if it's just a towel and some black and white cards. They're very helpful. Another thing are books. We got all of our books used, so a lot of friends just donated them to us, but books are good even though babies or newborns can't read, obviously. This helps with establishing a nighttime routine, so reading to them, and I would say after about a month, maybe 2 months, he was really looking at the pages. I mean, I'm sure it just looks like colorful text and pictures to him, but it helps during playtime if you want. Also, I just use it during the bedtime routine. So we include this as part of it to help signal to him that it's time to sleep. Okay, so something else that's very helpful and useful is to have some sort of lounger. So there's things like the Mamaroo, the Boppy Lounger, the Snuggle Me. We went with the Boppy Lounger. Here's ours. I just put like a blanket on top to make sure that it doesn't, in case he spits up or any issues, because this thing doesn't have a cover. But this is helpful to have somewhere for your baby to lounge in. Like the Playgym, it's more of a play thing, but if you want to, you know, you need to cook dinner, you need to make lunch, you need to lay your baby down somewhere while you use the restroom, this is something that would come in handy. So a lot of people like the Snuggle Me. I like the lounger better because it's a little bit elevated, so he's able to sort of look around and see things. And I will admit, this sort of became a must-have for us for sleep. Because and I guess it's like a giant pillow, so why wouldn't you be able to fall asleep on this? He was able to fall asleep and stay asleep in this when he wasn't doing very well in the crib or the bassinet. There were times where he would sleep and wake up like every hour, every half an hour, but if we put him in this, he would sleep for like hours. It's not safe. I do not recommend it. It was out of desperation that we did that, and I'm a little ashamed to say that, yes, we did not practice safe sleep, because they say you should not have your newborn or any baby sleep in a Boppy Lounger because the risk of them sliding down and they could asphyxiate because they can't raise their head or their neck and their airway is very thin and it can easily become crushed. So not great. But for us, it was a lifesaver. There were times where his naps and his nighttime sleep were getting really bad, maybe around 2 months old, and the Boppy Lounger saved us. He doesn't use it anymore, but again, that's why I needed that baby monitor, and probably wish I kind of had the Owlet sock or something that monitors his heart rate and his breathing, because it gave me a lot of anxiety, but I was desperate for him to sleep, and that's why I used it. He actually didn't use it that much to lounge in because he never liked being on his back, which is a whole nother issue, but having some sort of lounger I think is really helpful. Other options for lounging would be like a swing. I would say Ezra started really liking the swing around 1 month old because it sways them, and there's a hanging mobile, so he likes to look at that, and it's helpful for times where he wakes up early from a nap and you're eating dinner, lunch. You just need him to be consoled and he won't be on the ground playing by himself, and you don't want to have to carry him. Another thing is a baby carrier. Ezra didn't really need to be carried that often in the baby carrier, but I know a lot of babies do require baby wearing because the mom needs to get stuff done around the house, and you can't, every time you lay the baby down, they'll cry. So I would say invest in either a used one or maybe try it out before you settle on one, just in case, because I have both the Boba Wrap and the Ergo Baby. I actually think the Ergo Baby is a little easier because I don't have to figure out how to wrap it, but the Boba Wrap is better for newborns. So it really depends. Just again, do your research, try to do samples if you can. The last category is a miscellaneous category with things that didn't really fit into the other categories. The first is a baby tracker app. The app is literally called Baby Tracker. And what is helpful in the very beginning, and I use it since the day he was born, is first to track nursing times if you're breastfeeding and poops and wet diapers, because in the beginning that's really how pediatricians and doctors are able to see if your baby is getting enough nutrition, if they're eating enough. And the transitional poops is important because in the beginning it's meconium, which is black, then it becomes kind of like a greenish color, and then it becomes yellow. So you want to see the transition, and it's really helpful to keep track because you're going to forget, and your pediatrician is going to ask you, how many wet and poopy diapers did you have in the last day or so, or the last week. Also with nursing, I wanted to make sure I knew how long I was nursing on both sides or total, and eventually I started tracking his sleep. And so now I use it every day, so I know what time he went to bed, how long he's been sleeping, how long is his total sleep, how long has his nighttime sleep been, when's the last time he ate, how much did he eat, how many ounces did he eat, and how many poops did he have. So it's just a really good way to keep track of things. It also has a good notes column, so in the beginning we were tracking things like what helped put him to sleep, or what made him spit up more, how did he react to this formula, how did he react to this, what made him upset. It's really been helpful, and I think it's been a good thing that I definitely wouldn't be able to live without. Next are blankets. So muslin blankets, a lot of people use these for swaddling, which we didn't because the Velcros are so much easier, but blankets are good to have on hand either if they're cold, in the car seat, you know, to cover them, shield them from the light. Next is a baby bath. So we use the Angel Care bath. It's really good because it basically just sits in the bathtub and you just sit the baby on top. It has like a more meshy, it has like a silicone-y feeling, so it's not hard on them at all. And the water is able to sit in a little pool to keep them warm and keep their head up because newborns can't keep their heads up by themselves. So that's been really helpful with bath time. I never had any issues with it. No mold, no smell. It cleans really easily, and Ezra seems to like it, so he doesn't have any problems with it. Next is a nail clipper. So I use the Freedom Mom nail clipper. I know a lot of people have the electric nail files, but we decided to go with a nail clipper because I felt like it would be a little bit more useful for years to come. And I've never had any issues with clipping his fingernails. I never was afraid because the way, and you'll see when you get it or look at it, the way it's shaped, somehow it prevents clipping onto their skin. So I haven't had any problems, and it does the job. It's sharp enough to clip their nails. In the very beginning when he's first born, I think you're supposed to wait a week before you actually clip their nails. So you might just want to use a nail file, and their nails are so thin that it's probably not even necessary to clip them. It's actually even hard to file them because they bend so easily. But yeah, so that's one thing to keep in mind. The last thing on my list is a stroller car seat combo. So I have the evenflo pivot, and the reason why I chose this was because it's reasonable, it got good reviews, and it has a 3-in-1 basically travel system. It has a car seat and then a bassinet / toddler seat. So the other reason why I like this was because I wanted to get a bassinet seat, and not all strollers have this. Reason being, if you take your baby out on a walk or something, you don't want to have to put them in the car seat. But if you have a bassinet, because they can't sit in the regular stroller yet because their head, they'll like move forward because they're so small and young. A bassinet, they lay down, so it's really easy to go on walks with them. And the way that the evenflo pivot one works is that the bassinet transforms into the toddler seat when he's old enough. So I thought that was really helpful. And the reason why you want a travel system is that you can easily click in the different things. So when you're out and about, if you use the car seat, when you come out of the car, you just click it into your stroller base and you can go. Or if you're using the toddler bassinet seat, you just click it in and go. So there's never any issues. It's basically like a 3-in-1, and you don't have to buy different components for different things. With COVID, we're not going out very often, but I know that it would have been really helpful if we were to go out very often. And even when he started getting heavier, I couldn't carry the car seat on my own, so it was helpful when I was going to doctor's appointments to just click him into the stroller. Also, the evenflo pivot is really easy to break down and just not bulky. Haven't had any problems with it, so I really like it. So those are all of the newborn essentials that I thought were really helpful when I was having my baby. Again, every baby is different. Your baby might be different, but I hope you guys got a good idea of what might be useful. If you have any questions, please comment below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!